All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. All right, so now being 5:45, I'll call the April 23rd Finance Committee meeting to order. We'll start with the accessibility statement. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon request. If you'd like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. The notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is posted in this meeting room and is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Mary, could you do roll call vote?
I will. Treasurer Christine Joy.
Present.
We have Stephen Santasonio.
Present.
Noreen O'Toole.
Present.
Allison Shane.
Present.
Yolanda Spinola.
Present.
And for staff, we have in-house, we have Sean Noel, we have Brenda Robeson, we have Charlie Kilmer, and we have Megan Fournier. And I believe that is all that we have.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so first item on our agenda that requires action is the March 2024 meeting minutes, which were provided. Anybody have questions or concerns on the minutes? And if not, is there a motion to accept them?
Motion to accept.
Okay, motion Noreen, second Stephen. Mary, could you do roll call vote?
Christine Joy,
Accept.
Stephen Santasonio,
Accept.
Noreen O'Toole,
Accept.
Yolanda Spinola.
I'm gonna abstain. I wasn't at that meeting.
No, thank you. And then Allison, please, Allison Shane.
Abstain. I also was not at that meeting.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Brenda, how about the March 2024 financials?
Okay. At the end of March, we had a positive financial standing showing a 6.7% budget surplus. Statement of expenditures report shows total expenses for the month of $334,151.66. Cash position report shows income for the month of $180,551.73. Disbursements for the month were $394,541.79. The total cash available at month's end was $2,084,223.46. The OPEB account had a gain of $28,483.87, bringing the ending balance in the OPEB account to $1,140,914.17. Budget resources report. Cash receipts being $180,551.73 brings the total year-to-date receipts to $3,998,725.46. AAA report. I need to say that the last month's report, I apologize, did not include the FY24 numbers, which was why the numbers were so low. And I put the reports together quickly and did not realize that mistake until it was too late. So anyway, we're on track now. This is where the numbers are supposed to be. Okay, that said, the AAA report outstanding balance for AAA pass-through programs was $782,418.83. The outstanding balance for AAA admin and ombudsman programs was $226,251.91. This brings the total outstanding balance for all AAA programs to $1,008,670.74. Voluntary transportation account beginning balance was $165,890.60. Restricted funds payments to volunteers were a total of $823.71. Donations received were a total of $316, bringing the ending balance in the fund to $165,382.89. ROM's statement and activity. Balance at the beginning of the month was $163,908.51. Receipts were $8,350, bringing the total receipts to $75,150. Expenses were $6,335.12, bringing the total expenses to $87,103.01. The ending statement balance was $163,870.84. Budget reports.
Actually, Brenda, before we go down, can we just go up just to the I just want to note, if you see, there was a few months straight in a row that were 11,000. You know, we did a lot of work here. We're continuing to do a lot of work, particularly as it becomes with electrical updates as well as the roof issue. If there is wood on that chair right over there, we'd knock on it because we've had a couple big storms, and the work that Sean and Megan have been doing along with Charlie and Brenda, and keeping up on that. We'll have a couple extra bills come in for the next month's report, but we had a little bit of a lull, and we're continuing to monitor that. But I just wanted to note, as you saw, right, so we had 11,000, 10,000, 13,000, we had 4, then 5, but then we bumped up again. We're trying to be cognizant of that, but also the income that we are getting from our renter is helping with a lot of these costs, just as a general rule of thumb. So we're looking to just make sure that it's not a continual investment, that it's continual costs that we see for as it relates to the building.
Great.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. The spent to date, or moving on to the budget reports, Megan. Thank you. The spent to date percentage rate at the end of the month was 68.93%. The ideal percentage in the 9th month of the fiscal year would be 75%. So at month's end, we had a 6.7% surplus. Page 1, expenditures at the end of the month were a total of $2,006,496. Budgeted funds remaining at the end of the month were a total of $904,393. Page 2, projected income at the end of the month remained at $2,910,889. Page 3 also had no changes. Projected pass-through income remains at $1,719,329. Lastly is the list of combined accounts payables and cash transfers for the month. And that's the end of the financials for the month of March.
Does anyone have any questions for Brenda on the March financials?
No,
Right.
excellent report, Brenda.
Well, thank you.
All right, how about a motion to accept the March 2024 financials to present to the full council tomorrow?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Noreen.
Second.
Yolanda did the second, so we've got a motion, Noreen, second, Yolanda, so can we do a roll call vote, Mary?
Christine Joy,
Yes, accept.
Stephen Santasonio,
Accept.
Noreen O'Toole,
Yes,
Yolanda Spinola,
Yes.
and Allison Shane.
Accept.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Brenda. How about the 2025 proposed budget?
So
Do you want to start that?
Before Brenda goes into it, but we can pull that up if you could, Megan. So as you noted, and I know everybody who's on this meeting today had participated in one of the 2 retreats, and that retreat certainly offered a much more in-depth discussion about the finances and how it's all put together. It will continue to be lots of different questions, but I note that when Brenda provides the financials, she will always start off with, "We are in good financial standing." Those words are not done lightly, because if we weren't, they wouldn't be said. And as we look back in terms of, when we went through the financials, that surplus, if you will, is always what we're looking. We were pretty close in one of the months, a few months ago, like we were at 3%. It's probably as close as we want. But the reality is that we're working, and we're that plus and minus, that revenues and grants and other private contracts, if you will, with the different communities. We're growing. Our biggest portion of our budget is going to be our personnel. So you know, in the years past, we usually have had a personnel meeting by now, but we're doing one in May that will be open up to everyone. Stephen has scheduled that. And we will have the conversations about more in-depth about merit increases and how they come about. We will most likely go into executive session because those are some of the discussions relating to that, but we will talk as open as we can and transparent as we always have in the budget going forward. But Brenda had pulled this together, and Noreen O'Toole had provided the staff last week with a couple stress balls. I gave two of them. I gave two of them to Brenda today because she's just on the cusp of being on a week vacation, and that week of vacation kind of went not down the toilet, but it certainly was a day of between auditors and FY24 budget and FY25 budget, and but to the point that Noreen and all of you have been so glowing of her capabilities. It takes a team, and Sean's here in person because Sean has alleviated some of the things that, like payroll and other things that Brenda used to do without anybody. But I just want to really take one step here and just to thank Brenda for her tenacity, but her intellect and her ability just to move like a chameleon from one thing to another. So Brenda, if you want to maybe go through the line items, what we have. This again is the second of the budgets. We will have one more time where we'll have the budget can change one more time between now and then, but this is staff. I met with managers and worked with them. We have tweaked the personnel based upon workload and some change of duties. So if you're looking from what was, we gave a narrative last month. This is really the first time you're really going to be looking at
Actual numbers.
the actual numbers for FY25. So with that, maybe Brenda, if you want to just run through
Okay.
this would be great.
First of all, thank you very much for all of your kind words. I really appreciate it. Okay, so first of all, in the FY24 column, the numbers have been updated to closer to current, which includes changes to the income and the expenses. With these adjustments, the FY24 surplus still stands at $82,932, which is, you know, a bit less than it was prior. Because I'm now moving those surplus funds into categories to make the balance or the budget more balanced. As we draw closer to the end of the year and the numbers become more actual. And it will update again after I close April. And so at the next meeting, the financials for the regular financials will reflect more close to what's actually happened through the year. So that said, the FY25 income shows a wonderful increase of $196,912 in comparison to income in FY24. This number will change as there are multiple grants in the works. The budget shows a surplus at the FY25 shows a surplus at this time, right at the beginning of $73,919. I will continue to update both FY24 and FY25 budgets to close out FY24 with actual income expenses through FY close, while the FY25 budget will include any changes that will occur until the final budget projection is presented to begin the new fiscal year on July 1st, 2024. Now I can go through the line items. Can you just scan up so that we're at the top, Megan, please? Okay, so the budget always is based on historical numbers. You know, everything sort of averaged out to what seems to happen from year to year. Some of the numbers have dropped down and some of the numbers have increased. And that's really based on where we are as far as the percentage where we stand at this point in time and what we anticipate is going to happen in April, May, and June. So does anyone have any questions about any specific items. I mean, most of them are pretty close. The salary numbers and anything related to payroll, it's always going to increase because that is based on, merit increases, which haven't been decided on exactly just yet, but but we'll be having a meeting about that in the near future. But for now, with what is being proposed by the managers, and adding a new hire, etc., it's up from 1,900,000 up to $2,080,390. And and I'm always pretty, I try to leave a pad in there because as we're growing pretty rapidly, and at some point we will, as we grow, we may need to add more employees, etc. So so that all said, does anyone have any questions about any of the
Becky?
specific line items?
Brenda, it looks like Becky's got a question for you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Hi, Becky. I was so busy looking at the numbers that I wasn't paying attention to your hand.
So I have a question. When I'm looking at the numbers, and I know you always do a great job, for anybody who's new, you always do a great job of giving us some padding so that we don't get in trouble, and we usually run ahead of budget. I've always seen us be ahead of budget. My only question is when I look at something like fringe, and I see that some of the numbers were being a little lower on our estimates of cost, but on fringe benefits, if we're hiring more staff, I'm wondering how our fringe benefits are going to go from $299 to $290.
Well,
Is that sort of a budgeting thing, or do we actually have a savings coming in
the
play?
fringe benefits on the FY24 side will drop because it doesn't look like we're going to land at 299,000. So the reason it's lower is because that's what the trend has been. However, I was thinking about this today, and because we now have partial company paid employee parking, which does fall under a fringe benefit, I may have to tweak that number on FY25 up a little bit. That's still another one of those things that I need to look at. It's still kind of a work in progress. It gets closer as we get closer to the end of the year.
But that answers my question. So the 290 is really closer to reality for 2024 than the 299.
That's
and I was
correct.
thinking 299
That's
was
correct.
reality, and I would expect it to go up a little.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
that
correct.
makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Anyone?
Yes, quick question. Thanks, Brenda, for putting this together. Can you tell us a little bit more about the building loan? I see that there is a decrease there, but just a little bit more
The
detail.
building loan, as the loan gets closer to the end, the interest rates drop. They get lower. They actually are lower from month to month to month. So that number will continue to decrease from year to year because the interest that we pay, as the loan gets smaller, the interest is less because that's just the way that it works. So that's the reason why that number is lower.
And Brenda, just because it's a good question that Yolanda brought up as well. So the building loan is from the repairs that were done in 2015, I believe. And the loan is with whom?
Rockland
It
Trust.
is with
Yeah,
Rockland Trust. So I believe that it's reflective in the financials earlier, but we have how many years left on that? Do we know?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Charlie probably does.
I don't remember either.
I don't know the number of years, but it's about 300,000
Thank you,
Oh, so
Charlie.
dollar
300,000.
value. So
Okay.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, that was the actual, yeah, we're below
And that
that.
number that shows up under expenses is obviously just the loan interest.
Right.
The building itself is an asset that doesn't show up on a budget that just shows expenses.
Right. And with the amortization schedule, as Brenda said, every month your interest goes down and your principal payment goes up because we're further into the amortization schedule.
Great. Thank you so much for the
You're
information.
welcome. Anything else, anyone?
All right, looks like that's it, Brenda.
Yeah,
So,
so this is just a
just
preliminary,
informational
this is
only, kind
continually,
of.
and as we get to the May, we will, if any of these numbers change in any significant way, either up or down, we will have them highlighted
Okay.
for all of you. Just, it's not your job to keep track of what we change. The reality is, we really don't anticipate this changing that much at all. As you can see, you know, the promise that we had was try to be as level funded as we can. The glorious part is that we have a grant writer who's now on staff, and he's been incredible, just
Mhm.
with working with all the staff, you know,
Mhm.
pursuing all avenues. And, in addition to, you know, building our continued relationship with each of the communities. So,
And
I think,
let's look at the income pages too, because.
oh,
the
good.
income
Thank you,
pages,
Brenda.
yeah,
That's
we
great.
have, which we go up to the next page, it shows the income for FY 25, which is looking extraordinary so far. We're off to a great start.
So even just roll up just, well, the bottom line, you're right, Megan, just to highlight that. But even if we scroll back up, so this is what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks and working with, each of the departments, breaking these down by economic development, transportation, you know, the AAA and elder affairs, you know. But this morning when Brenda, Charlie and I met, right, we could talk about departments, but then there's also the support staff, the operations staff that feeds right into everything. You know, the communications that Megan and Elise are doing is transparent about how the engagement is working with, you know, all departments. And so it's made a difference in terms of not just only as OCPC as an organization, but really about the programs that we're providing.
Mhm.
So these, and again, even when we left the meeting this morning, there's a couple more grants that are gonna be coming through. The only thing that will be happening is more revenue coming in. And then it becomes, as we talked about at the retreat, it's a management issue. You know, do we hire contractors instead of employees? Because then contractors are short-term. If we hire someone, then that goes back into, as Becky related and discussed, is that then it's fringe benefits, and on top of that, and overhead and all those other things, and paying into the retirement system and the retiree. So it's that balance, and that's where we're gonna probably have a little bit deeper dive in at the personnel committee about where I see things going. And I mean, I'll say it here, I don't see us growing that much more. I think we're looking to contain what we have, because at some point, you know, again, we're talking about perhaps hiring somebody, in the comprehensive planning because of the plans that are coming through, whether it's open space or housing production plan. So again, that balance of meeting the needs of the communities as well as not burning out staff. Becky?
I just wanted to say how impressive it is that, you know, the thing about being a grant-driven organization, it's the same thing as if you're doing government contracts. You're always using up your grants from one year to the next. And so what's really impressive here is to see how, you know, grants are going from sort of being at the end and increasing. And you'll see one grant might be going, or one grant's completed, and you guys are backfilling that with other grants. And that keeps our staff stable, and it keeps their employment stable even as they take on new projects going forward from year to year. So I think that the process of managing the grant money and the money coming in to support our staff and constantly seeking the next layer of grants has been really impressive to watch. So thank you guys. This looks great.
That does come back to all of you. I mean, if there wasn't this finance meeting where you're asking these good questions, right? I think it was Allison a couple of months ago where she asked, well, how does this revenue, where this coming? We have to sometimes slow down to take that, because you are the fiduciary body, not us, you are. And we want to make sure that you have all the tools to do that. But to your point, Becky, between Charlie and the managers and staff and Sean and Megan, I mean, all of them, one thing that I've heard from all of you, whether it's treasurer, president, or Stephen from personnel, has been sustaining this organization, right? We're going to hire somebody. We want to make sure that this is not someone who we're going to have to let go in 2 years. We want to make sure that, particularly if they're within and bringing value and doing their job, we want to make sure we sustain. So that slow growth is really important. And when we get into personnel, as we've talked for many meetings before too, is looking what the workforce is offering. I mean, we've had staff who are being sought after, and we need to know how to balance that. And my hope is, the management style that I have, and I don't intend to changing unless someone convinces me otherwise, is to help our staff prepare for their next job. But we want their next job to be with us and to remain with us. And if that requires flexibility and work, but I know I'm going a little bit off, but it's, what makes an employee happy? And now we have 27. We're gonna be having 28, just for those who know, it hasn't hit yet in the newsletter, but former delegate from Hanson, Matt Dyer, is going to be joining our team full-time in the transportation department.
Wow,
So,
fantastic.
So is that number 28, Megan, or
No, that'll be, well,
20?
he'll stay 27. because he's
27.
already on
Okay.
Part-time, unless you reply or part-time.
So 27. So we're growing, and we just need to slow it down to evaluate where we are. So we're not burning out staff, but we're also supporting them. So that's where we are with this budget. And again, Brenda came back from vacation on Sunday. She was digging into this on Monday and sat with us today. And it really is, we feel, my shoulders dropped a little bit after we had the meeting today, because now I felt comfortable that we are on budget, and this is a good place for us
Yeah.
to be.
Very good place financially. All right, any other questions for Brenda or Mary?
So we're not asking for any action at this point. This is
Okay.
more for information, but we will
Okay.
be looking for the May meeting
Okay.
action.
All right, so we have no other business tonight. Our next meeting is going to be May 28th. And that'll be followed by the council meeting on the 29th. So thank you all for participating. And we've worked through this very expeditiously.
And my one last thing is that for those, we will talk about it at tomorrow night's council meeting, but tomorrow is Administrative Professional Day. And just want to acknowledge Megan and Elise, who are the backbone of our organization and has certainly raised us. So I just want to say thank you to
Yes,
Megan, who's on.
Indeed.
And we're going to celebrate on Thursday when they're both in the office at that time.
Good. And one last thing, prior to this
Oh,
meeting, the trustees had their first meeting. So we'll have more to
Trustees for
report. Going forward that,
He said trustees, I think trustees for OPEB.
yeah, OPEB trustees.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. So there's, no confusion. So our first meeting of the OPEB trustees, and so the ball is rolling there. So we are moving in a great direction. Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night. So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yes,
Do we have a second?
he can't. Stephen did.
Stephen, all right,
Yeah.
so. all
Thank
in
you,
favor?
everyone.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
I would have been happy to.
Good night. Thank you.